objectivity. It was not made against Senator De Lima. It was not made against any senator. It was made because the situation has become convoluted. The charges and counter-charges are being filed even as we speak. I think this morning or this afternoon there was a continuous hearing in the Congress where Senator De Lima was again on the carpet. I mean, very serious accusations are being made. And in the matter of investigating something as important as extrajudicial killings, you will need the objectivity that is so important to make sure that you are not accused of being biased. Because you cannot help it, we are all humans, emotions get into the picture, and definitely when emotions get into the picture, as you can see the other day, a sudden witness came in from nowhere. We don't even know who, what, where he came from. And in fact, I think Senator Lacson was in fact scandalized by the fact that he was the co-chairman of the committee and he was not told that there was a witness that was going to come in. And as the Senate President himself said, this was out of topic. Now, Your Honor, I did not want to get that committee. You all know that. But I really looked at the resolution, and the resolution spoke about the rampant and the recent killings, extrajudicial killings that had to be investigated. It had nothing to do with the President. It had nothing to do with anybody else, except that, you know, there are rampant killings ongoing right now in the country. And if we are going to make sure that we get down to the bottom of it, we must show that we are objective. And I thank Senator De Lima for having said very kind words. I hope it was not tongue-in-cheek. And I will take it the way it was spoken, and I accept it, because to thine own self be true. I am not a hypocrite. There is only one judge that I face to. That is, when I go look into the mirror, am I true? I am the only one who can cheat myself, and no amount of flattery will make that change, Your Honor. And that is why it is important that I rise here today, not just necessarily on behalf of the Senate. I dare not speak in behalf of the Senate. I think the Senate, they are all honorable men, and they can speak for themselves. You know, sometimes we belittle the lack of education of some of our compatriots, but I think Senator Pacquiao has spoken, has proven that in spite of the shortness in education, he has risen because of his work ethic, and he can speak his mind, and Senator Pacquiao has his own mind. I don't think we can deny that. And I don't think we should belittle that. I think we should honor the fact that we are brave enough to speak and not afraid, doesn't have walls, no one should have walls in his mind to be afraid to say something that he believes in, especially in this Senate. We're elected here. There are only 24 of us. And when we come here, I dare say that I have never been dictated upon in my life. I do not want people to say that we were all dictated upon. Even the insinuation is painful to my ears. I'm not defensive, Your Honor. And I will be true to you, and I say I have only met President Duterte once since he got elected. And even during the campaign, we hardly even talked. We had an exchange of opinion. I would like to say that even President Duterte doesn't want to dictate upon us. And precisely, I stood up here 2 weeks ago, last week, and came out with a bill that says, no, it's not the President that can declare martial law. No, it's not the President that can declare a state of, where he suspends the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. I stood up here because, like I said, and like I intimated the other day, the Constitution has made a legal eunuch out of the provision in Article 7 of the Constitution, that it is no longer effective to declare martial law because we in Congress have been given the right to say no to any martial law. And I can believe that the Congress can do so because we are all honorable and principled men here in the Senate and many people in the House as well. But having said that, Your Honor, there was also another provision that says we must share the responsibility of emergency powers. And that is why the judiciary can also limit those powers, and we can limit the powers of emergency by any president in terms of the duration, in terms of the objective of those powers, Mr. President. And that is why when I hear the president say, oh, I don't care about the Congress. They can do whatever they want, but I will do what I want. That is commendable. Political will is something that we have always been short of in this country. And I respect a president who says he will do what he needs to do. I know in my heart, and I've known President Duterte, I would not even say we're very close friends or even close friends. We were both mayors. But when I look at him, I know in his heart of hearts, he doesn't want disorder to reign in this country. He doesn't want our children to become druggies. He doesn't want terrorism to win in this country. And that is why, maybe to a certain extent, in my mind, being a former mayor and an executive at heart, rather than a legislator, I would give him wide swath. But I draw the line on killings. I don't think any senator here will tolerate unnecessary killings. I don't think they will tolerate anybody in this country to allow man to kill another man just for the sake of it. And that is why there is an investigation going on. That is why we're called upon by the very resolution authored by Senator De Lima, that he says there are recent killings and there are rampant killings, and therefore we must look at legislation to prevent that from happening, Mr. President. And that is why we have to look at it. And right away, even if I did not want to get it last night, I spent a few more hours, and that is why I was late for the dinner of the Senate President. Because I sat down with my staff and I said, here is the resolution. You have to look closely at whether the police are doing their job. And if they're not doing their job, we will call them to the dock. We will ask him, ano ginagawa ninyo? Mayroon mga namamatay dyan na sinasabi natin, ito ay, ano tawag doon, killings na hindi mapaliwanag, yung vigilante killings. Ay kung may vigilante killings, hindi porque may vigilante killings, matutulog na lang tayo rito. Hindi natin papayagan na porque may vigilante killings, okay na sa atin yon. Kailangan ipaliwanag ng pulisya because sila ang nakalagay sa Constitution na sila ang in charge of peace and order even in the regions. And there is only one national police force in this country. And secondly, Mr. President, nakakatakot yung mga sinasabing gano'n na madidiktahan na Senado because I don't think everybody from Senate President Ayon, who just came in and almost, no, you almost stumbled on the floor, and now that you're leaving, you may as well go, because you're, I'm just kidding. You know, President Ayon and I have seen a lot of days together, but certainly, let me just say, Mr. President, that we have to make sure that we always speak out when we see wrong, and we should try to right what is wrong. And we are not here as rubber stamps that whatever the President says will happen. I am speaking here for myself, and I think I speak in the heart, for the heart of many of the senators here, including our bishop here, Senator Villanueva, who just came in. And again, are you stating a point of order? Is the gentleman? So having said that, because, Your Honor, I am easily disturbed by inappropriate remarks, chatting while somebody is speaking. I always call the attention of the President when there is noise in the gallery, because I want to hear every word spoken here. When somebody speaks here, he's speaking for the people of this country, and everybody should pay attention. And I paid attention. I took notes. I could easily answer point by point what Senator De Lima said earlier. And for the record, sabi nga ni Senator kanina, nag-uusap ko palagi, I enjoy sitting beside my friend Senator Villar and Senator Subiri. We are called the Peter, Paul, and Mary. We try to imagine that we are singers. And I can remember when I was talking about that, sabi niya, kanina, iniimbestiga kanina ni tayo yung nangyayari since 2009. If that was the case, then cases should have been filed in 2009. I will not trouble Senator De Lima. I think I commiserate with her, like I said yesterday. I have the highest respect for her. To me, she is innocent until proven otherwise. But unfortunately, the political turmoil in this country brought about by a colonial hangover that tries to bring down our mindset, that makes fear in our hearts so that we will be afraid to speak up. We will not speak up because we are afraid. We have been taught to submit. I do not submit, Mr. President. I can speak for myself. And I have had, I think you all know my record in Olongapo and in Subic, when I was, of course, unceremoniously removed and I had to go to the Supreme Court on all those occasions and fought back. I think you know my record even during the Marcos administration. I voted to ban Mr. President. I have a mind of my own, and far be it from my mind to think that the Senate doesn't have a mind of its own, that we cannot be, that we will be dictated upon. Having said that, you know, Mr. President, I could also list down on that beautiful screen all the things that have happened in the past. Mama Sapano. The silence is deafening. There was an investigation, but up to now, nobody is being hailed to justice. There are court cases filed after the previous administration came up. We can talk about the other things, perhaps even Senator De Lima, and I was talking to one of the lawyers here, a former Justice Corona, just a while ago. When President Macrole Macapagad was leaving, there was a court order saying that you cannot order a watch list. You cannot put her on a watch list because that is a violation of the constitutional rights of any person. And yet, she was forbidden from leaving. And to me, that was unconstitutional. So we are not all perfect, Mr. President. Sometimes they use the word dick in several meanings, you know. They say dictator, sabihin lang ganon. Well, you know, we are all allergic to dictatorship. I'd like to think that it is more used in a more pleasurable way, Your Honor. Meaning to say, we are always making sure that the dictum of the law is always followed. And that is why, Mr. President, I rose up and I could not restrain myself. By the way, GMA declared a state of emergency and a state of lawlessness to a certain extent when she was under the heel in a coup. Cory Aquino declared a revolutionary government. So it's not Mr. Duterte who has issued a state of lawlessness. President Arab also declared not only a state of emergency, if my memory serves correct, he even declared all-out war in Mindanao. So, Mr. President, I'm sure passions have overtaken some of us here, myself included. Who are we? We are sometimes dictated by our own minds and our own passions, and that is a dangerous part. That is why I think we were all shocked when the hearing last Thursday was going out of control and that the senators on their own meeting together said, we will not have that anymore. We cannot be seen as trying to, block one another here. Cannot be seen as trying to stop somebody from speaking. We cannot be seen a chair that cannot control the proceedings. And I think perhaps maybe because she is overwrought, maybe she has those problems, and certainly we should support our colleague when she's in trouble. I'm not happy with her predicament. And that is why, Mr. President, in fairness to us also, I rise because I am not dictated upon. And as chairman, I told you yesterday, I will do so in a firm and fair manner, and I will consult the body. And that is why I would just like to announce to everyone that there will be a hearing right away on Thursday, as scheduled at 1 o'clock, and we will even bring the witness that came from nowhere, Mr. Batabato, but I know what we have to do. And I, as chairman of that committee, in consultation with our colleagues here, certainly, I'm already saying it ahead of time, we will not allow anybody to speak there, especially in a controversial manner, unless they follow the resolution authored by Senator De Lima. And we will not allow just anybody to speak up unless the senators are prepared with an affidavit. Affidavits of all the other witnesses that are going to come forward, so everybody can adequately prepare, so we can fulfill the task given to us in a firm, fair, cogent, reflective way, the task at hand. Forgive me if I put humor here, because sometimes they say you can say a lot of good things with your colleagues so that the tension will dissipate. I've learned through the years, and I think Senate President always calls my attention, mabait ka na ngayon. I've always been kind. I've always been mabait. I've always been passionate. That's why, dicks are always passionate, Your Honor. And I know that you're taking it literally, Your Honor. So, Mr. President, the remarks I've done out of jest and out of camaraderie and out of friendship and collegiality. I therefore end.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege on matters of public interest. First of all, congratulations are in order. Even if he's not around, congratulations to Senator Alan Peter Cayetano for his triumphant victory yesterday and for making me realize that a committee chairmanship is not the end of everything for me as a senator. No committee chairmanship is worth it if it means sacrificing my principles and surrendering the causes that I pledged my life to fight for. Many friends and colleagues have told me, if only I did not call out the President on the murderous consequences of his war on drugs and decided to be as meek as a sheep, I would not be in this trouble and I would still have the committee chairmanship. As the Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? I choose to keep my soul. Mr. President, it would take more than a committee chairmanship, a House inquiry intended to pillory and crucify me, an ethics committee complaint based on hearsay, a baseless election protest, everyday or almost everyday tirades from the Secretary of Justice and even the Solicitor General, and vicious personal attacks from the President to take me down. I guess it would take 2 magazines of an Uzi machine pistol to also take me down. As the saying goes, everything has been thrown at me except the kitchen sink, and I'm still waiting for the kitchen sink. Mr. President, I did not expect you or the senators to defend me from the vicious attacks of Malacanang as a person, as an incumbent senator of the Republic. The least I expected, of course, is you allow me to defend myself by myself without any support whatsoever from the Senate. But for this body to strip me of my committee in an unprecedented fashion at this point, when we have categorical testimony establishing an uncanny similarity between the current phenomenon of the nationwide EJKs and the Davao City EJKs as perpetrated by the so-called Davao Death Squad, was unimaginable. I now resolve to imagine more what the President's allies are capable of. Sinabi naman po ng Pangulo, hindi siya titigil hanggat ako ay kanyang madurog at mapadapa. With the House inquiry now ongoing, I already warned him, wag na po ninyong ituloy, mahal na Pangulo, dahil mapapahiya lamang po kayo. DOJ Secretary Aguirre has also recently pronounced that he is ready to file the criminal complaints against me this week. But these are all based on false and fabricated evidence. Sino naman po ang mga testigo nila? Hindi pa ho ako nakinig o nanood dun sa ongoing House inquiry nila. Although meron pong siyempre mga staff ko po na medyo nakinig naman po via radio or probably TV. Sino po ba ang mga testigo nila? Mga preso sa bilibid, mga convicted criminals, DOJ or NBI officials and others who have an axe to grind against me, or those who have skeletons in their closet and are now being pressured to do Malacanang's bidding at the risk of being charged themselves. Sa puntong ito, gusto kong iparating ang aking pagpapatawad sa lahat ng tumatayo at tatayong witness laban sa akin dyan sa House hearing na yan. Alam ko na kayo ay napilitan at napuwersa lamang para idawit ako sa kung anumang anomalya sa bilibid, gamit ang panggigipit, blackmail, o marahil pati torture. Ang hindi ko mapapatawad ay ang mga nasa likod nitong pag-iimbento ng mga ebidensya laban sa akin. May araw din po kayo. And what is the situation now in the bilibid? I have received reports, very reliable, credible reports, of inmates and gang leaders being taken by the Special Action Force deployed at the bilibid for overnight interrogation sessions, reportedly taken to ISAF quarters, which can also be a euphemism for psychological torture. I'm referring to the overnight interrogation sessions, all in an effort to fabricate testimony that I received bribes from drug lords. The National Bilibid Prison under this administration is now a tropical gulag. Prisoners are being selected and isolated just to be intimidated into implicating me and to fit the president's narrative that I am a drug lord coddler, aside from being the most evil woman in the planet. Sa puntong pong ito, nananawagan po ako sa Commission on Human Rights na magsagawa ng checking, inspection. I-check nyo po ito, i-confirm nyo po ang tunay na nangyayari dyan sa National Bilibid Prison. Nananawagan din po ako sa Senado. I'll be filing the appropriate resolution na imbestigahan din po ang mga pangyayari na yan sa loob ng National Bilibid Prison. Pero ano naman po talaga ang ginawa ko? Wala naman po talaga akong ginawa kung hindi gawin ang trabaho ko. Kahit ang Pangulo, minsan na niyang sinambit na kahit siya ang nasa kalagayan ko, ganoon din ang gagawin niya dahil ginagawa ko lang ang trabaho ko. Mr. President, I'm not the problem. I'm not the one giving a bad image to this country before the international media, contrary to the accusation and belief of Senator Cayetano. The problem of this country and this administration is the extrajudicial killing of more than 3,000 of our countrymen in the past 3 months, or more than 1,000 per month. Sinabayan pa ito ng bunganga ng ating Pangulo na walang patumangging magmura ng mga opisyal ng UN at ng mundo katulad ng Santo Papa, ni Pangulong Obama at ni Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, sa kabila ng pagnanais lang nila na kausapin siya sa kanilang mga agam-agam tungkol sa polisiyang gyera sa droga ng Pangulo. And may I add, the President has already proven that he is more than capable of single-handedly giving a bad image of this country to the whole world in the short span of 3 months in office. He does not need any help from anybody on that aspect, least of all from me. Kaya wag po ninyong baligtarin ang mundo na ako ang nagbibigay ng masamang imahe sa Pilipinas dahil hindi ako ang nagmura kay Obama at kay Ban Ki-moon. Minsan ay tanggalin naman ninyo ang mga tapaloda ng kabayo sa inyong mga mata at medyo punahin naman ninyo kahit konti ang walang kontrol na bunganga ng inyong Pangulong pinagtatanggol. Senator Cayetano. Mr. President, ito pong mga patayan na ito ang nagbibigay ng masamang imahe sa Pilipinas ngayon. Ganoon na ba tayo kakitid mag-isip para maniwala na hindi papansinin ng mundo o ng international media ang nangyayari sa ating bansa kung wala ang isang Laila de Lima? Ang pagpatay ng mahigit 30 katao araw-araw ay pagpatay pa rin sa mata ng mundo. Nandyan man si Laila de Lima o wala. Sa tingin ba ni Senator Cayetano na sa kanyang tagumpay na matanggal sa akin ang Committee on Justice ay gaganda na at timano ang imahe ng Pilipinas sa mundo? Maaari hindi naman bawal na managinip si Senator Cayetano. Hindi po ako ang pumapatay sa mga kababayan natin para maibalita sa international media. Hindi po ako ang nagra-riding in tandem at tumitira sa mga maralitang drug suspects. Hanggang ngayon po ay nandyan pa rin ang mga salarin na umiikot sa kadiliman ng gabi para itumba ang mga pinagbibintangan ng mga kriminal, totoo man silang kriminal o hindi. Maaring iilan sa kanila ay ang mga dating kasamahan ng ating witness na si Edgar Matubato sa Davao Death Squad. Gusto lang natin malaman kung may katotohanan sa haka-haka na ito upang sila ay tuluyan ng madakip at mahinto na ang patayan. There are criticisms from Senator Lacson and Senator Cayetano that I should have vetted the witness first before presenting him in the hearing. Mr. President, the vetting process of witnesses on the DDS has started since 2009, when as CHR chairperson, I conducted the inquiry on the Davao Death Squad. At that time, we were able to interview and get statements from several DDS members who chose to talk but not to testify for fear of their lives. In fact, as early as 2009, Edgar Matubato has already been identified by one DDS witness as a companion of said witness in one of his DDS operations. Nagtutugma po ang ilang mga kwento sa kwento ng ating witness na si Edgar Matubato. Katunayan, noong 2009, may mga pangalan ng mga opisyales ng Davao City Police ang lumabas na mga miyembro ng DDS sa Heinous Crime Section ng DCPO, mga pangalan na binanggit na rin ni Matubato. Ang ilan po sa mga pangalan na ito ay ang mga sumusunod. SPO4 Arthur Las Cañas, Police Chief Inspector JCJ Francia, Police Chief Inspector Fulgencio Pavo, Police Chief Inspector Ronald Lau, SPO3 Jim Tan, SPO4 Sanson Sonny Benaventura, SPO1 Reynante Medina, SPO1 Bienvenido Furog, SPO1 Vivencio June Humawan, SPO2 Enrique June de los Reyes Ayaw, SPO3 June Laresma, SPO2 Rizalino Bobong Aquino, SPO3 Donito Pogi Ubales, SPO1 June Bisnar, SPO1 Gaston Aquino, Police Senior Superintendent Isidero Dick Floribel o Florobel, hindi masyadong sigurado po si Mr. Matubato, Police Senior Superintendent Ray Capote, Police Senior Superintendent Tony Rivera, Police Senior Superintendent Dionisio Abude, Bienvenido Laud, Alvin Laud, Rolly Engalia Arnold o Chavez. Yung ilan po sa mga pangalan na yan na banggit ni Mr. Matubato nung kanyang testimonya ng Huwebes. Yung iba naman po na banggit niya sa akin nung akin po siyang in-interview bago ko po pinaharap dun sa hearing na yan. Tandaan niyo po ang mga pangalan na yan at yung mga pangalan na yan, kung pwede po sana, kung nakikinig kayo, kung sino man sa inyo ang mga nakikinig, ay pag-isipan niyo na po, lalantad po ba kayo o magtatago na lang kayo? Mr. President, those names compose the core group of the so-called Davao Death Squad, according to witness Edgar Matubato. Malakas pong ebidensya ang testimonya ni Edgar Matubato. Hindi ito katulad ng drug matrix na nilabas ng Pangulo na walang gustong umamin sa NBI, PNP o PIDEA kung kanino galing sa kanila ang impormasyon na laman nito. Kung ang pamantayan ng ebidensya ni Senator Cayetano ay katulad ng drug matrix ng Pangulo na parang dinowing lang ng isang 12 anyos na bata, di hamak na lampas-lampas naman ang testimonya ni Matubato sa pang 12 anyos na standard ng kanyang mahal na Pangulo. Kung minsan po talaga, ang pinakamahirap gisingin ay ang mga nagpapanggap na tulog. Mr. President, may mga binanggit na pong mga opisyal ng kapulisan ng ating witness. Nasaan na po ang mga opisyal na ito ngayon? Masarap pa ba ang kanilang tulog sa kabila ng mga binitawang testimonya ni Edgar Matubato? Kung nakakatulog pa sila, marahil sila ay inosente. Pero paano kung sila ay hindi inosente? The implication is that we have a group of serial killers and mass murderers right within the ranks of the organization which is supposed to protect and serve the people. I might be jumping to conclusions. But what if it is true, as claimed by Mr. Matobato? Was the action of the Senate yesterday, stripping me of my committee chairmanship, going to help to uncover the truth? Or was it part of the plan to hide the truth? I hope it's not the latter. I still bear a great amount of respect for my colleagues. I believe that their action yesterday was born out of an honest desire to diffuse the unnecessary political complexion of the investigation by choosing a more, shall we say, neutral and non-controversial senator to lead the investigation. At this point, I'd like to sincerely congratulate Senator Richard Gordon for having been vested with the vote of confidence of the Senate and for accepting the burden of investigating the current phenomenon of extrajudicial killings. I believe in his capability to carry out a serious probe into these incidents and get to the bottom of the killings. I watched his career as a senator several terms, and I am convinced that he possesses the integrity and the courage not to be cowed by the executive and act as a mere lackey of Malacanang. I believe that he is also capable of exercising that impartiality that Senator Cayetano has repeatedly drilled into our heads that I'm not capable of. I believe that Senator Gordon bears more fortitude and strength than I did to be able to call out and censure any colleague who transgresses the boundaries of unparliamentary speech when he accuses Liberal Party senators of conspiring to overthrow the president without presenting a single piece of evidence, while accusing me of having prejudged the EJK investigation on the basis of an eyewitness account coming from a man who claims to have been an original member of the so-called Davao Death Squad until he was betrayed and framed up by his own comrades for a crime he did not commit. Excuse me, Mr. President. I am fervently convinced that with his experience and no-nonsense personality, Senator Gordon will be more able to throw out any attempt to badger, harangue, abuse, or otherwise malign a witness by misleading and forcing him to admit that the reason he is testifying is because he was recruited by the senators of the Liberal Party to trigger the ouster of the president and to put in Malacanang Vice President Leni Robredo, whom the witness admitted he barely knows. This is the kind of pretentious and hypocrite objectivity coming from Senator Cayetano that Senator Gordon will be facing. I wish you good luck, sir. I can tell you it was not a pleasant experience for me. Not at all. You can have the Justice Committee as well as the offensive and unparliamentary antics of Senator Cayetano. Package deal po yan. On the other hand, you will still have me as a member of the Justice Committee. I promise to behave and not give you a hard time. A Senator Cayetano is enough. I will not bother you with another obnoxious personality in your hearings in the Justice Committee. May nakausap po akong taxi driver noong isang araw. Ang sabi niya ay parang magulo na naman sa bansa natin, katulad ng pagkagulo ng bansa sa ilalim ng ilang mga nakaraang administrasyon. Patayan dito, bombahan doon, mga bangkay na naglipana sa daan, mga barilan ng mga riding in tandem, mga abuso ng mga kapulisan sa mga pag-raid at pagtukhang sa mga urban poor areas, etc., etc. Sa totoo lang po, wala akong nakausap na taxi driver. Ginaya ko lang po ang estilo ng pagkwento ni Senator Cayetano para patunayan niya na ang Pilipinas ay kasing safe na ng bansang Singapore. Sa totoo lang po, medyo nabilaukan ako sa sinabi na yon ni Senator Cayetano kahit nandoon na ako sa katahimikan ng aking opisina kahapon. Kasing tahimik at kasing ligtas na raw tayo katulad ng Singapore. Hindi pa po ako nakapunta sa Singapore, Pero kung kasing tahimik ng Singapore ang Pilipinas, kailangan din bang may bumubulagta na mahigit 30 tao kada araw sa Singapore para sila ay maging ligtas? Kailan din ba nilang magtokhang para malipol ang mga mapanganig ng mga pusher at addict at malinis ang mga komunidad ng masasamang elemento? Kailangan ba nilang padanakin ang dugo sa kanilang mga kalsada upang mapanatag ang mga tao na may ginagawa ang gobyerno para mapuksa ang kriminalidad? Kailangan din bang may mamatay na 4 o 5 taong gulang na Singaporean sa kamay ng mga vigilante dahil ang lolo o tatay nila ay mga markadong pusher o addict? O ibang pamamaraan ba ang ginawa ng Singapore para mapanalig ang tao sa respeto, sa kaayusan at sa paghahari ng batas? Ang pamamaraan ng patayan para magkaroon ng katahimikan ay magdudulot lang ng katahimikan ng sementeryo.